Hey, cruising on forward in Big D Energy live on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Flannel Sam. The man to my right is KG. We are filling in for Neil Rule and Darren McCarty. We got Justin in the sound booth and Spencer Raxter in the TD booth as always. And you had mentioned it felt pretty nice to watch Vlad Guerrero.
Yeah.
There's definitely some I would say longing. Like I would give just about anything to get this guy on the Tigers.
Man, what?
I'm not sure if they're in a position where they're going to go after somebody like Vlad Guerrero because, my goodness, the haul that they would have to give to the Toronto Blue Jays would be something that would probably involve a Clark or a Job.
Yeah,
or something
that was my next question. Are you willing to part with a Montero, a Jung, if you have to, a McGonigal? I mean, I think Max Clark's probably pretty untouchable at this point, but other than Clark, are you willing to separate yourselves from one of those top 100 prospects we have in our system?
I mean,
multiple of them actually, not even just one.
Obviously, I'd love to have Vlad Guerrero Jr. I would love it more than anything, but we all know where I'm at with things. I'm at the sort of exit on the highway where I don't think Chris Ilitch or Scott Harris is going to make a move like that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at things a little bit more and what you could actually do and something that Scott Harris and Chris Ilitch are actually willing to do. And obviously, Reese Olson getting hurt, it's tough. I wish that would have never happened because right now, if that wouldn't have happened, I would pretty much be positivity right now. But one of their strengths is their starting pitching, and Reese Olson isn't going to be there for a little while. And Casey Mize is still on the injured list. I expected him to be back by now, but I read on ESPN that they don't expect him back at least until after this road trip, which is only a few more games, only 4 more games at Cleveland. So
that's good news.
It's not the worst thing in the world, but KG, do you see an actual pathway to the Tigers potentially buying and giving AJ Hinch what he wants?
Yeah, I mean, I could see a pathway. Like you said, I just don't think that they'll do it, man. And I would be willing to part with some of these prospects. It just depends on who you're asking for. Because when you look at a Ty Madden, when you look at even a Jace Young, I think I would be willing to sacrifice that because I feel like those are moves that you can make up just by spending a little bit of money. It ain't got to be all the money in the world, just a little bit of cash. Yeah. And I could absolutely see a move like that being made. But of course, you don't want to jeopardize your future at the same time. But I also look at the fact that a lot of these guys that are in AA, that are in AAA as well, aren't Scott Harris guys. Yeah. So I don't know if he really values them once they get to the MLB level. We've already seen kind of what's happened with Torque and things of that nature. So I don't know, man, but I don't think they're necessarily in a position to buy, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Well, and let's go Red Wings Sparty. Next 16 games are all teams ahead of the Tigers in the standings, and that is certainly a golden opportunity. However, it's also an opportunity to play yourself right out of contention. And I'm not saying that they're going to do that. I'm just saying with Reese Olson being down, you've got less pitchers. However, I still want to buy. I really do.
Okay.
I want to buy.
Talk your shit, Flannel.
Because and you already know my move. I'll get to that in a minute. But I've got a couple of reasons why I think the Tigers should buy. And the first one is that, and this is something that I've been, I'd say, more bullish on than some. Even though I did bury the team, I did say AJ Hinch should be fired. But it's never to me. It's
you was wildin' that day. Just want to let you know.
That's still an ongoing thing. But I guess my point is that when it comes to certain players on this team, I've been very, very bullish about them. Did you know that they have 6 players right now on their team with OPSs over 700? 6! That's pretty good.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Royals have 5, by the way. And I get it. We don't have a Bobby Witt. I understand. But Riley Green is somewhat of an approximation. And I don't know if he can ever become Bobby Witt, but we've got our star. And obviously, Salvador Perez is still there, but he's on his way down, I would think. Even this season, he started off scorching. Now he's come back to earth a little bit. We've got 6 players with OPSs over 700, and Riley Green has an OPS of 862, and he's an all-star.
Not bad.
Furthermore, a couple of the guys on the team that are in this lineup that play every day that do not have OPSs over 600, one of them is Colt Keith, whose OPS in July is 1.152, and if you take out his horrific month of April, which is a rookie, it happens, he's been pretty damn good this whole year. And oh, by the way, another guy that I have to victory lap about a little bit, and again, you guys might not like this, but I keep hearing about all across Detroit media, all across our very own shows, that Mark Canha is basically Javi Canha or Mark Baez.
Jesus.
That's all I ever hear about is just how horrible he is, how it was the worst signing ever. And I get it. He's struggled a lot. He has. However, one of the reasons why he's valuable to your lineup is because he has a .337 on base percentage, which ranks him 20th in the American League, actually tied for 20th in the American League. Would you guys care to guess who he's tied with?
Who?
You won't get it. Adley Rutschman.
Wow.
I know. Is he as good as Adley Rutschman?
No.
Good God Almighty, no. Good
Not
gosh
even close.
Almighty, no. But,
Just a bit outside.
But Mark Canha does provide that particular set of skills that I talked about. He gets on base at the same clip as Adley Rutschman, although he doesn't do anything else as well as him, but still, that is my entry to the club. How I value these players is one of the things I look at is on-base percentage. Mark Canha certainly does that. So to me, and also his on-base percentage is higher than Jose Ramirez's. That's another thing that's pretty damn impressive, and I bet you guys didn't know that. So I guess my point is that this lineup is better than people think. People act like it's just Riley Green, Colt Keith, and AAA players.
I don't know. I'm not really impressed by that Jose Ramirez stat because he can slug way more than anyone on this roster.
I understand, but Justin, you're treating it as if I'm saying Mark Canha is in anywhere near an approximation of the player Jose Ramirez is. I'm just saying that the fact that Mark Canha does that makes him valuable to this team. It doesn't make him that bum that people are making him out to be.
Yeah.
Is he Jose Ramirez? He's not 1/100th of the player that Jose Ramirez is all around, but he gets on base. Even when he wasn't hitting, he still would take his walks, and he's very, very good at getting hit by pitches, which I don't know if it's a skill or not, but I think it is. Because you know what? You got to be willing to take a little pain to walk to first base. That is what. Hey, absolutely. But we've seen Mark Canha do it. My point with all of this is that the cupboard is not as bare as you think. And if you make a move, which I've been screaming to the rooftops about, like bringing in Tommy Pham from the White Sox, a guy who's got a .341 on base percentage, .717 OPS, somebody like that.
What about Brent Rooker?
I would love Brent Rooker. I would give anything for Brent Rooker. I just think you'd have to give up a lot, and I don't think Illich or Harris are going to do that. Although Brent Rooker, it's an absolute crime that he wasn't in the All-Star game, and Marcus Seaman was. Yes, he's Marcus Seaman now.
Jesus.
When you make the All-Star game and your OPS is under 700, you're Marcus Seaman. You're not Marcus Semien anymore. You're Marcus Seaman.
Jesus, man.
You took up a spot that should have been Brent Rooker's. You are now Marcus Seaman.
First off, pause. I mean, that's just crazy, man. But I do understand your Brent Rooker point, and it does seem like the A's are going to be asking for a lot. They said they aren't willing to come off these guys for the cheap. So why they would do that, I don't know, because you need all the answers you can if you're the Sacramento A's, but it is what it is.
Well, and I want to get to one thing too, because
before we move off Rooker,
go ahead.
I'll buy it when I see it. What the A's not asking for a price, I guess. To say.
They might be lying.
They're lying. They don't want to pay any of these dudes. They want to get rid of them, and everyone uses that to your advantage. Yeah, you'll have to go for some prospects, but it won't be the penny that you'd have to give up to get someone like that from like the Dodgers or the Yankees. Teams who don't give a shit about the money. They just want the prospects. So I think that on the whole Rucker situation.
And Broder mentioned something in the chat. Buying means keeping Flaherty, Canha, Urshela, and Shelby Miller, and that would probably be malfeasance to not trade them and get prospects in return. That's part of why buying is difficult. And I've mentioned this before, that I'm not just about buying. I want to sell Gio Urshela. I'd be 100% fine selling Shelby Miller. And my reasoning for selling Gio Urshela is because he doesn't get on base enough and he doesn't slug enough. And my thing has always been, you trade Gio Urshela and Ryan Valade, somebody that the Tigers clearly don't value, and you get back a top 100 prospect in return. There's Felon and Celestin, their number 91 or 92, MLB top 191 or 92 ranked shortstop. And then you've got, I think his last name is Locklear. He's the number 100 prospect in all of MLB. And he's a first baseman, and he's actually MLB ready. He had a cup of coffee with Seattle early on. Didn't do so well, but it happens. Jackson Holliday didn't look great his first stint in the
Here
MLB.
we go, Flannel Bean.
Hey, I'm just saying, that's a guy in Gio Urshela that can go. Because notice when I was talking about some of the players that I like in this lineup, Gio Urshela wasn't mentioned.
And maybe you could do like a hybrid type buy. Maybe it's not an all in, but when you look at the players he named, I mean, Urshela, like you said, he's expendable. Shelby Miller, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily want to part ways with him, but for the right deal, absolutely he can go. He's someone who's been up and down, especially since he left this studio. Shout out to Sam for kind of cursing the man. But ever since that day, he has not been the same. He's been better lately. But you look at a Carson Kelly, you know, there are pieces that you can auction off that wouldn't necessarily hurt you tremendously if you're still trying to chase this thing.
Well, and if you're, and I'll look at it from the other side, because I've been prepared for pretty much any scenario, but the Tigers have all of a sudden been hotter than the sun lately.
Yeah.
Carson Kelly, the Cleveland Guardians, imagine Carson Kelly in that lineup. Have you seen Bo Naylor's numbers? Have you seen Austin Hedges' numbers? You put Carson Kelly in that lineup next to their 4 All-Stars, and obviously Jose Ramirez being the most legit of all of them, and Stephen Kwan leading the AL in batting right now. That's a team that's a we want to win the World Series kind of move. And that's why they might give up more than you would think. You might hear the name Carson Kelly and just automatically assume mid, but when you look at some of the catchers out there, hell, even the Yankees could use a Carson Kelly.
Yeah.
I know Jose Trevino is better than Bo Naylor is right now, but if he had him in as even like a number 1 or a number 2 catcher, the Yankees might give something up. I'm not saying that they'd give up like Jason Dominguez, their number 1 prospect, but they'd give some things up. And same with Mark Canha. And I use the Los Angeles Dodgers as the greatest example. We think that they have this murderer's row lineup, and they certainly do with their top 3, and if you even want to include Will Smith when Mookie Betts is there.
Yeah.
But have you seen James Outman's numbers? Have you seen Gavin Lux's numbers, although they've been better lately? Have you seen Jason Hayward's numbers? They're in the lineup damn near. One of those 3 is in the lineup damn near every day. Have you seen Chris Taylor's numbers?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Not so good.
Chris Baez, Javi Taylor. That's what he is right now. So my point is that even a Mark Canha, even somebody that he costs a little bit more money, even somebody who has gotten all kinds of slander all across the Detroit sports airwaves, he is the type of piece that a contending team could plug right in, and at the very least, he would give you his on-base percentage type of prowess. And oh, by the way, you saw what he did last year when he was bought by the Milwaukee Brewers. He had a pretty damn good second half. He helped fuel their playoff run. He wasn't the driving force, but that's the point of making this type of move. It doesn't always have to be the guy that's going to drive the team, but it's going to be a piece that helps you, because the lineup has 9 people.
Yeah.
You can't just have 1 star or 2 stars and then a bunch of also-rans.
So you're talking about trading Carson Kelly. I'd like to know, what is your solution for the catching position then? Are you going to rely on Jake Rogers solely, or is it time to bring up a guy like Dingler who's been waiting in the AAA for
I haven't heard
years?
His name in ages.
No, honestly,
ages.
And this is where I was just speaking hypotheticals. I don't want to trade Carson Kelly because I think that he could be valuable to a push to end the season. If you were to trade Carson Kelly, if the Tigers were out of it and Carson Kelly could get you back prospects, yeah, it'd probably be Jake Rogers and Dylan Dingler. But that would be okay to me if the Tigers were already 100% out of it. If they were just like, you know what, we're not going to win this year, we're done, all of that. Then I would most certainly do something like that, get prospects in return, or a prospect, or however you package Carson Kelly, and be fine with it. That would be my solution, because I don't know, Dylan Dingler, he's somewhat promising. I think he's the number 11 or 12 prospect with the Tigers. Showed some flashes. We shall see. But I think if there's any impediment to the Tigers potentially buying that Reese Olson injury, that's rough.
Yeah, it threw a wrench in the plans, most definitely.
No, it certainly did. I guess if there's, and this is me stretching a little bit, I understand, but if there's one way that I can make this to where it's not planets colliding and their season's going to be blown, if they decide to not sell Tarek Skubal, if they decide to not sell Jack Flaherty, they get themselves a Tommy Pham, they get a nice prospect for Gio Urshela. Mm-hmm. You have, in the American League, Skubal is 3rd in ERA, Flaherty is 11th. In WAR, pitching WAR, Skubal is 1st, Flaherty is 12th. In WHIP, walks and hits in innings pitched, or walks hits per innings pitched, Skubal is 2nd and Flaherty is 4th. You still have a pretty damn good, I mean, you've always had a pretty damn good 1-2 punch up at the top. And with Reese Olson getting hurt, maybe that paves the way for the Tigers calling up one Jackson Jobe, who has been dominating Double-A and is the number 1 pitching prospect in all of Major League Baseball. Number 1. All of the prospects ahead of him are position players. That's the type of move that I would make if I were the Tigers. And then Casey Mize might be coming back soon. Reese Olson is probably not out for the whole season. You put Kiter Montero as sort of your stopgap, maybe use a bullpen day. And at the end of the season, you could be looking at, and this is very pie in the sky, I understand. You could be looking at Tarek Skubal, Jack Flaherty, Reese Olson, Casey Mize, Jackson Jobe.
I would love that.
That sounds pretty sexy to me.
Yeah, because I'm in agreement that I feel like Jobe can come up. I know it's a long shot. I don't think the Tigers would actually go out and do a move like that. No. But I don't see the harm in letting him come up into the season and let him start getting some MLB reps, man. Like, if he's the guy that we think he is, and by all accounts, it seems he's that way, his stuff is absolutely electric, man. Big swing and miss guy. If you have a guy like that and you have holes in your pitching rotation, why not take a chance on him?
In Tony D, Olson will be back just as strayed. And I hope so. When it comes to pitchers and their arms, I usually get a little bit worried.
Yeah,
but
as somebody that's had a neck strain, it took me like three weeks to get completely like back right. So I'm not sure if it's different with the shoulder, especially a shoulder that you throw on constantly. But I would assume that it wouldn't be that long before we see him again. So hopefully we will hope.
And that's fair. And Chris Blackburn, WAR is the worst stat in sports. Do you like ERA and WHIP? You'll probably hate those two because I'm saying it, but that's all well and good. Me and Chris Blackburn have a little bit of a vendetta. But yeah, pitching, I'm looking at it in a way that it could work. Unfortunately, pretty much all of the pitchers in AAA are not performing well. Have you seen Wilmer Flores' numbers? Have you seen Ty Madden's?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
You'd hope that you'd have something. Matt Manning's hurt right now. So Jackson Jobe. The Reese Olson injury could very well just derail the whole thing. I'm 100% aware of that.
Just me, you can't put Maeda back in that starting.
No, you can't.
I'm sorry. No offense to Maeda, but that last outing, man, he looked good for an inning and then had an inning of complete shit. So he's not ready to be in that starting rotation again. I would much rather see anybody, like you said, a bullpen day. I'd much rather see a bullpen day than Maeda back starting.
It was such a feel-good story when he had those 3 2/3 scoreless innings in the Dodgers game. And it's like, because you want him to succeed, but then we saw what happened. And I get it. It was on very low leverage situations. It went from 7-0 to 7-3. Who cares? But the fact that when I saw that it was Maeda, I'm like, damn. Why did it have to be Maeda? It could have been anybody else, right. Especially given what happened to Reese Olson. If Maeda would have pitched 2 or 3 scoreless, we're like, maybe he's figured it out. But
it's the ex-wife theory. You think that she's going to do better, she shows you that a little bit, and then just like that, boom.
That hoe can't stay off the streets, man.
No, she cannot.
Dirty bitch.
Hey, and fortunately, Justin doesn't know anything about ex-wives, and hopefully he never will.
Let's hope.